vision is that which precedes you to produce the form of your good. So it's a power that we have in using these types of techniques. We learn to get in charge through being clear, through selecting what we desire, and then bringing all our energy, our dynamic energy, somewhat like, producing a birth into it. And there is such a thing in, ancient, very ancient mystical methods. People were advised when they were in the act of creation, in the master schools, that they must be one with their idea of good before it has manifest. All creation takes place in the internal workings. That you must go into the future to see your good permanent, perfect, and experience yourself having it and being charged by it, and without wavering. So these techniques are metaphysically pure and very important, and realize that everything you ever manifested in your life happened this way, even though you might not have been conscious of the process. It was through doing this very thing and bringing your life energies to bear upon a desire and surrounding it with love that it became manifest. So I like that very much. So it's very... So this morning, it is my great pleasure to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is the law of miracles. What are miracles? How we may prepare to abide in this glorious dimension of experience. How we may prepare for these experiences to bless our lives. And how through the activity of right consciousness and realization, we may ascend into this domain, which is the kingdom of rightful inheritance for every son, daughter of the Most High, the kingdom that is present for those who have realized the ultimate truth that I and the Father are one. What is a miracle? Miracles, to me, are always those demonstrations or manifestations or activity in our life which reveal the boundless, unified, joyous field of God in which we live and move and have our being. When we experience miracles, we become aware for those moments of that pure activity of spirit, acting in us, through us, as us, on our behalf, unbounded, unprecedented, free. We are rejoicing, we feel at home, we feel all things are right with us, we feel complete. So the miracle moment is a moment of supreme unity, where in the moment of the wonder of the thing that takes place, we are enthralled with the perfection and continuity of all of life that we see. And in that moment, we are unable to know anything other than good, or the ineffable presence of a loving, omnipotent, immediate God presence. So miracles demonstrate the truth of our being, that all that the Father hath is mine, and I am one with all that is, without limit. I am infinitely connected. Miracles are what we call demonstrations in the absolute. And again, that's another way of saying that they totally reflect the perfection of God. No trace of human burden or limit of time, space, distance, separation. So when we experience them, at first they can heal us of separation because they alert us to that unified field. And you all know what I mean. When you have like a miracle manifestation. You're thinking of a friend and they manifest and you say, life is wonderful. You know, look how connected I am to all that is. All I have to do is think my word and my friend shows up for me. So you see that great consciousness of love and unity that's embodied in the miracle experience, which, remember, is your natural experience. So as we get freer from that which does not belong to us in our belief systems, and we start moving into really claiming our higher self, this becomes our natural way, and we would not even dream of life being any other than this way that was established from the beginning. So miracles are demonstrations of the absolute. They remind us that this is God's universe. This is God's universe of divine order, established by divine principle, and no matter what we think, this is what the truth is. It doesn't matter what we think. This is the truth of our being. So it is God's life that we are living, of perfection, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfect supply, perfect connectedness. So miracles are manifestations, events, and occurrences which highlight and bring out the truths of divine life. So they involve, and behind every miracle, you would see, you know, if you looked at the miracles in your life, you would see that behind every miracle is involved the activation or the experience of a God principle. And miracles will always demonstrate unity, connectedness. So this is a level of consciousness which, you know, anything in our life can only happen through the aperture of our realization. Things may be true in life, but our way, electricity exists, but unless I plug into it, I cannot derive the benefit of those currents. So as it is in the human condition and our evolution, we're learning to plug in through conscious recognition and realization of that which is, okay? And getting rid of the confusion and delusion. All right, so this is the level of consciousness to which we aspire. We know it is our divine right and the natural follow-up. That these are our natural right. Why? Because we are manifest of God. We are born of love. So often included in experiences of miracles are also things that you know. We talked about this, synchronicity. You know, those experiences of perfect timing, you know, instant, immediate. For why? Synchronicity, or those experiences, reveals the God principle of perfect timing, perfect connectedness, perfect need and need met simultaneously, instantaneous perfection. No, it doesn't take God any time to manifest anything. It takes us the time to move through the clutter, the grid of mind, to experience the pure essence. Right? And this is why also I'm looking at joy and I'm thinking, you know, joy is such a necessary element. To have that joy, that faith, that radical reliance on that invisible power of your life, you know, is to rise, is to elevate beyond limitation. And in that moment of your good, peaceful knowing, you know, whether you're, you know, laughing out loud or just, you know, very serene within, you are a right place for miracles to happen because of the level of your consciousness, you know. Michael told me the most interesting story about his father was flew, what kind of jets, Michael? World War II jets. And his father was quite accomplished in his work internationally. And this is an amazing story to realize about how we can rise above, by moving into the truth, we can rise above the whole field of limitation. Michael's father was, you know, flying a jet, and there happened to be a rat, right, Michael, that appeared, that was gnawing on the wires, or gnawing on core cable, not gnawing on hydraulic cable. And so here he is, shooting through the heavens, and he's got this rat, He discovers this rat, and there's nothing he can do to prevent this. And here to me, this is God. This is what I mean about miracles. Something in Michael's father would not accept the fact of gloom and doom and that rat is going to succeed, at cutting those cables. And what he did, he was guided. He knew that there was a solution, and he was guided to soar even faster and higher to the place where the rat could not derive oxygen. But he could. The rat could not get air. And so in this way asphyxiated the rat and soared free of that possibility. So this is very powerful. Do you see what I'm saying? This is a metaphor, for we must rise above the level of the problem to the God domain where the solution and the perfection is, and that limitation will dissolve right before us. Ascend in your consciousness to realize the perfection of God, and then you shall have your miracle, which always demonstrates a transcendence of some boundary, some limitation. That's what we call miracle, right? When we transcend a limitation that we're used to lugging around with ourselves, and in that moment we're free. So there is a higher principle that releases you from gravity, that accelerates you, and catapults you beyond the issue. And this is what we call a miracle, and we want to make it so that this is not a sometime thing in our life. This is the totality of our life, because this is our consciousness. So this is God's universe, very complete in all, as you can see. It is God's life of perfection, wholeness, harmony. Now, what you can do when you are working on a particular miracle, let's say a transcendent state of your past that you want to arrive in now, know that whatever miracle you want to experience now, whatever it is, hidden behind that is some divine principle of perfection, of perfect life, God's life, that you are wanting to bring out. So you can say, there's all kinds of miracles, right? There's all kinds of principles of perfection. Ask yourself, what do I want to bring out here about divine life through this event? Maybe it's, let's take the example of, meeting friend. I'm infinitely connected. That would be an absolute principle of life. Regardless of how we feel in our moods, this is the truth about us, right? And so discover what you're wanting to bring out, and when you're fully aligned, know that when you fully align your thought and feeling life with this idea, with this realization, when you fully embody the truth of that, you will have your miracle. I talk about principle, and I want to explain these words to you. Principle, the absolute, miracles. Principles are, what are they? Some rules? They are cosmic truths of power that self-exist eternally and operate eternally, whether we believe in them or not. Okay, let's take the absolute principle, self-existent principle, that God, or the all in all, the mighty I am, the great all that is everywhere evenly present, and thus cannot be localized. When I fully cognize this truth, and I realize, yes, of course, that must be so. There can't be spots where the energy is and then it's not. There's got to be this one thing that is, and it's everywhere evenly present. When I cognized this, I was in Delaware, traveling, and I was doing some antique shopping, and I thought to myself, well, there's a special paint that I was using that up until that time I could only obtain in New York City, right? And you see, I was stuck in limitation because I was thinking these paints only can be gotten in New York City. But I was musing upon this God is everywhere evenly present and cannot be localized. And I said, well, then my paints must be in Delaware. So God will become my paints. So I realized that God, or the energy of life that becomes the thing, is equally present here in Delaware without limit. And the instant I got that and opened my mind to receive of that reality, there was an immediate demonstration of the richest, most instant, most radiant supply of these paints, which, supplied me for a very long time. And in New York, I could only get few of them at a time. All right, so you see what happens? You get the realization first. You have the demonstration as the natural follow-up. All right? So in all, think of the miracle you want, and remember, in every demonstration, you are the authority in the way you're directing the energy of your life. What perfect life principle do you want to demonstrate? Do you want to bring out? Are you choosing to manifest, to stand by limitation and restriction, separation, or are you a blockbuster who's standing by the truth of God, by your life? You must opt for your miracle life in God. You must choose it to have it. So since we live in a unified field, we will demonstrate that which we are conscious of. Thus, if we are deeply conscious, regardless of what's going on, of a universe of perfection, remember it's God's universe, and abiding in this appreciation and love, we will demonstrate the presence of love and perfection wherever we go. We will demonstrate our word. Alice, who's come in from Philadelphia today, told us, I have to tell you this story, that we were talking about, Alice was saying she had a lot of traveling to do. So I said, well, Alice, you're just going to have to teleport, right? And so we were on and talking, and she told me a marvelous story about a woman on an airplane. And she had been in a rush, and she'd left her purse, discovered she was without her purse, and had left it, in the terminal. Now, normally, what a person does is they get wild and crazy, and they think in terms of loss, and they do everything but do what they need to do to get their purse back. But this very wise woman had the stewardess announce, is there a metaphysician on this plane? So, a metaphysician came forth. They sat together. They treated to know the truth that there is no loss, that is God's universe. God is in charge and is unbounded without limit. Did their thing, opened their eyes, the purse is on her lap. Okay, this is God. This is limitless good. This is how far we have to reach, abide in these states permanently. I love these God stories. You don't have to call the airlines and go through the whole thing. That you know so much what to do. That you live in this grace. Someone said to me, to have grace flow in your life, you must do the work. You must do the work. And if you do the work, I promise you, meaning the work in consciousness, of gaining right understanding, the grace, you make room, you set the stage for grace to flow and multiply in your life. All right, so we abide in knowing of this deep universe of perfection. And we abide in deep appreciation, giving thanks that this is our world. And we demonstrate the presence that we know exists, that is our life of love and perfection, wherever we go. God is love. This universe is a body of love and cannot be other. Those things that go on in this universe are permitted to exist by the loving all that embraces it all. But nothing goes on outside the whole, outside the God circle, right? It's a universe of love. Thus all miracles will demonstrate the presence of the perfect power of love, of unity. So how do we prepare? There's one other key I want to give you. How do we prepare the greater state in ourselves of this awareness of life. As I said before, the more we work on our love, our peace, our faith, our joy, our knowing, the more immediate our demonstration. It is said, the more faith you have, the more innocent, in the sense that you cannot know power to wrongs. Right? How we hang out in the wrongs of the past. Well, last time I tried this, Well, the innocent have the ability to cut that cord and know that was the past. It has no power to me now. All right? So the more greater our faith, the more accelerated the demonstration. For we must realize all ideas of division, separation from God good have come to go. We must empty ourselves of all the past preconceptions and notions of division, hurt, harm, separation, all of this. And this is why forgiveness and release of the past very often precede miracles. Because you can't have a God demonstration in a cluttered field. You just can't, okay? So we must clear our mental, emotional memory slate till we are only aware of God now, presence and oneness with all, and not harboring thoughts toward the past, but awareness of God now. Remember your crises. Those times, those are God's opportunities. In other words, the higher, it calls upon the higher, it insists upon activity from your higher, more evolved self. If we go along and life is going along, we don't have to change. So crisis is the alert that you can bring in something greater and newer. It is God's opportunity in you to reveal the greater majesty. Remember, God, the great energy of being, becomes whatever. God is your miracle of strength, of power, of supply, of protection. God is your continuity, your all in all, divine order, perfect sequence, all that you need. God is the whole presence in the rose, in the mountain, in you and me and all that is. There is only one thing. God is the evidence of the perfect principle of unified being. One more little story. There was unified being. There was an elderly couple that had an accident on a mountain. At the same time, simultaneously, and they knew that God, or the energy of life, love, would help them somehow. So they were laying there, and they were, giving thanks, not beseeching, literally giving thanks for the help that would come. Somewhere down the road, there was a policeman who wanted to know about intuition. He'd never had an experience of intuition. He wanted God to give him an experience of what is his wife talking about when she says, have you got a feeling about something? He's a very nice man, but he wanted to have this experience. So that was that he was giving thanks for. Now he's driving down the road and he feels this tremendous pull to go up this mountain. And he says, well, I'm going to have to honor that. When I finish doing what I'm doing, I'm going to come back. So he came back, and there the pull was there again. He says, well, I'm just going to have to put aside now what it was I was going to do. Went up the mountain, found the couple, and they said, you're my angel. We prayed for you, And this is the unity. See, the need and the need met, the unified field that is not constricted to body. That was a manifestation of God's unity, God's love. All right, so there's one other key I'd like to share with you this morning, and that has to do with time and space factors. You will notice that the greater the miracle in your life, the greater the dissolution of your awareness of time and space. This has to do with your faculty of acceptance. The greater your acceptance of the power of God in your life, I didn't say you had to be powerful. I said the power of God in your life, the greater your acceptance. How great is our acceptance? Let's ask ourselves, do we know there is only one God, only one power? Stuart Wilde talks of phases of this acceptance, and this is how it operates. In the beginning, in the first phase, you have, let's say I want an ice cream. I say, I get an image of, I want an ice cream. And I know I can go down the store and I can go purchase that ice cream. So I go into action. I accept my desire, go into action, I go to the store, I get the ice cream, and I come back. Okay? So that's action phase. Involves some action, some time, and some space. Right? I've got to move across time and space to that store to obtain it. Second level. I want ice cream. I send someone else to get it for me. I send spirit before me to get it for me. So I say, friend, oh, I really love an ice cream. Would you go and get it for me? Sure. But I believe what that is highlighting is the knowing that spirit goes before me. I may send spirit before me. It eliminates work, effort. So the greater your manifestation, the less effort, less time, less space. Third phase. I love an ice cream. Doorbell rings. Friend is there and says, I just bought 2 ice creams and I just was thinking maybe you'd like an ice cream. And I said, thank you, how fabulous. Yes, I was thinking of an ice cream. It is before I ask. It is given. I didn't even get out the door that time. I didn't even ask that time. I just knew what I wanted, and someone responded. That's God responding. And so next stage is love and ice cream. There it is. No mediation, no manifestation, materialization of ice cream. Nothing in between you and your word, like the purse. So close is our connection. We know certainly, God can make ice cream. Ben and Jerry's does not, So this is the elevation of our understanding and also the elevation of our experience. So we want to strive to make life effortless. Not that we don't apply conscious effort to know the truth, but in the activity world, we become much more streamlined, and things that we do have much more impact and power because our knowing is greater. Okay? So this is the absolute phase, by the way, when we say, because this absolute, remember, demonstrates God. Absolute phase, ice cream, manifest. Right? It demonstrates the power of God. All right, so empty, empty, release, release. Empty, empty, be as empty as you can be. The Buddha says this, and you hear this over and over again. What does this mean? Empty yourself out of all the past, all memory, and come into the now. Empty, empty, release, release. Put your mind on the principle of good you want to enjoy. Rejoice in the bliss of God, which is the presence of your being, your all in all, and you shall abide in the kingdom more and more accelerated, more one, more fulfilled every moment. It is said by the great Holmes, our universe is complete already. Everything is already manifest for us. We have only to realize that this is so, to experience the perfection, and so it is. So what I'd like to do right now is just a very short meditation to ground ourselves. And we do have to ground the current of our knowing on earth, ground ourselves in this knowing. So let us go within right now to the summit of consciousness, rising to the plane of the Absolute, where we join the mighty Om of the cosmic unified self. Each one gently now stepping out of the body being into the vast universe of divine glowing substance, Now each one, we have a mighty realization of the perfection of love and infinite connectedness. Let us each one now flow to overview a particular area which now needs a greater God, miracle, whole consciousness from us. That now needs a consciousness of unity and perfection. From the heavens we select the abounding principle we choose to demonstrate here. We hold the atomic light of this principle in our hands, radiating infinitely and powerfully through the palms of our hands. We take our palms and we send this light in, through, and around this circumstance, renewing, transforming, making all things whole. Right now, as the light disperses, we stand back and see our situation perfected. The perfect face of God is revealed. Thank you, God. Thy principle of perfect life hath elevated me, sustained me, and perfected me in all. And so it is. Let's read this. You'll find it in your program. Let's read it together now, out loud, for the purpose of incorporating it, absorbing it within our own consciousness. Okay? And know that any time you go off center, which we know is very easy to do, this week, just pull the statement out and just read it to yourself again to establish yourself in the perfect truth. Okay? I am that I am, and right now I declare I am the full miracle manifestation of God. In all, I am the fulfillment and the radiant life, transcendent of time and of space, of all conditions and influences. I always manifest all that God is in all my affairs. There is only unity. There is only God. Right now, as I dwell upon the most perfect and the most high, as I embrace the total essence of infinite goodness and love, a mighty manifestation of the power of God sweeps through my life and aligns me with wondrous new good beyond conception. God is swifter than laser light to hear, to see, to respond to me. God pierces through the veils of illusion, negation, and obstruction, projecting my new opulent good, free standing and complete. God is the synthesizing power, unity, all. Thank you, God. Thou art the limitless miracle power of unified substance upon which I can rely. Thank you for miraculous, blockbuster, divine manifestation now that sweeps away all dross and leaves nothing the same, that leaves only radiant evidence of the purest providing presence. I am one and all with all the good that is. Thou art my freedom, Thou art my life. I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. And so it is. And so it is.